Hey guys, what is up? Some of you may know I sent out a call to the community recently, an opportunity to come fight me as the Spear of the Church on PC around soul level 90, which means for hosts, somewhere between soul level 82 and 133. If you go outside the boss fog, set your password to Amish. You can look and find my white sign. The idea is not that you summon me. The idea is that signals that I am fighting as a spear and that I'm actually available for a fight if you want to try and fight the boss and see if I get summoned in. Had a number of people take me up on that, and I thought it'd be really cool to show off some of those fights. This fight right here is not one of them. These guys were pretty well outmatched, but the players that fought me were not. And the fights were really interesting. I thought it would be cool to show them off. Now, I'm actually not going to describe who the players are just because I don't know who wants to be identified and who doesn't. If you want to be identified, leave a comment and I'll be sure to call you out and I'll update the description of the video accordingly. One other note, you may notice I'm running DS3 Watchdog up in the top left corner. It shows information about the players. It's there as an anti-cheating measure, and I intend to have a video dedicated to that all to itself coming soon. But let's go ahead and jump in the clips of the various people that came and fought me. So this is a player I've known for a while, both from just the world of Dark Souls 3, but also the DS3 subreddit. This person's a pretty active contributor, or at least has been in the past. And I talked to this person over Steam after the fight, and they told me that they were trying to focus on playing two-handed with the curved greatsword. Now, two-handed curved greatsword is a fantastic weapon, as Skitter will tell you. But against a good player that knows how to reaction roll, it can be a lot more difficult to use. Now, against a spear, it's still a reasonable weapon just because I can't heal and you do big damage with it when you hit me. So I still think it's definitely a workable weapon in this situation. You can see doing lots of damage there. And here, I see the R1 coming and I try to trade into it with the weapon art, but I still think I ended up losing that trade. So that's the last time I try that. So I think I swapped to the Wolfring +3 in the beginning to try to get the poise advantage, but then I realized poise trades with this player are not the way that I'm going to win. I'm going to win by trying to poke him, hit him outside his hyper armor frames, saw the turn and burn there coming, and then in fact that's actually probably one of the biggest distinguishing characteristics of fights between really good players and average players. Really good players don't give into the pressure. They use turn and burns like right there. I did not expect him to attack out of the Undead Hunter Charm, which is I'm sure exactly why he did it. And fortunately there, my Guardian's still alive, so he heals me up quite a bit. I think that was a pivot attempt, but he went for too many R1s. I was able to space him out, get in there and beat on him a little bit, and here he kind of gets cornered between me and the Guardian. GG. So in between fights, we were talking about the two-handed curved greatsword, and we were talking about the efficiency of the one-handed curved greatsword and hand axe. And so as you can see, that's actually what he switches over to here. I see the hand axe shoot up, and now I'm worried because now I know the real pressure he can bring with that hand axe. And now my strategy for managing weapons like this, really fast and difficult to reaction roll, has really evolved a lot. And it's actually evolved principally due to the duels I've been having against some of the better players. I've learned much better ways of dealing with it. And you'll see I sprint away quite a bit. Sprinting away is a great strategy when you're trying to make space against a weapon, especially if you can outrange it a little bit, to keep him from pressuring me up close, because then you start to give into panic rolls and the L1 waggle. So there I'm just running away and trying to reaction it. There I thought I had spaced out the curved greatsword. I was trying to be really aggressive in my spacing and got to be just a little too aggressive. Fortunately for me though, I have the reach with the S-Stock versus the hand axe, so I'm just going to try and stay out of this guy's way. And you notice there I didn't complete the combo. That's a bad habit that I've developed from fighting average players and sort of forcing them into panic roll chains. And unfortunately it's playing by habit, which is a bad thing to be doing. So I'm sprinting away again, trying to outspace his hand axe. And I'm actually having a pretty good amount of luck. I'm forcing him to whiff the hand axe. There I see the roll backstab coming. Fortunately, I'm able to space out the whiff backstab, and unfortunately he rolls past me, and in that narrow corridor it was pretty easy to backstab him. GG. So in this fight, I saw the player's name, Church Sword Spear, and I thought maybe this is a fellow spear of the church, or maybe he's built a build just to come fight spears of the church. I wasn't really sure. But the first thing that actually came to mind as soon as I saw this was that weapon art would be a really good way to punish a spear trying to heal in the spear fragment. So I'm immediately already thinking about that. That's kind of already on my radar. This player does a really good job of managing my pressure and getting away to heal. Didn't get quite far enough away there. And unfortunately, I hadn't swapped back to the Hornet Ring at this point, or that might have been the end of the fight. And it also threw off my timing with the Undead Hunter Charm. This player also does something really smart. They throw out the R1s kind of while facing away and then turning. And there was a red flag. That was a pivot attempt that I didn't really pay enough attention to, and I'm about to pay the price for it. Here he lands a really nice pivot, very well done, great way to punish my aggression, but he turns himself away when he uses the halberd, the sword spear R1s, and sure enough there, I throw out the spear fragment. There goes the weapon art designed to punish me. Unfortunately, not far enough into the spear fragment there, but when you turn your body like that, I think it kind of camouflages the R1, makes it a little bit more difficult to reaction roll. I also think it makes it a little bit more difficult to space, but that might be just kind of my inexperience with it. I fought Pep the other day, Pep 410, and he did the exact same thing with the halberd, and I had a lot of trouble with it. There I got really surprised by the range of the weapon there one-handed. I did not think there was any way that was going to hit me. And here before I heal, I look over, there's the weapon art again, very smart. And he tried to go for it again to punish my heal, but fortunately the Guardian interrupted him. And really, I think this player's probably outplayed me up until this point, but because I've got both Guardians online, that's a lot of pressure to deal with. And there you can see I rolled out when I saw the pivot attempt incoming. So again, I think this player did really, really well, but the pressure of two Guardians plus me hounding him and being in his face constantly, like that's a whole lot to deal with. GG, man. Really well fought. So these next two fights are really interesting for a couple reasons I'm going to describe. Now in this case, in the previous cases, I didn't know who the players were right away. In this case, I know exactly who they are and I know I'm in for it. The really cool thing here is in this fight, they brought patches and then they sent patches home. So I have the poise of 3 players, though I'm only fighting 2 players, and that is an enormous buff to the spear. And as it turned out, these 2 players, they actually weren't looking for me specifically. They were just kind of fighting spears in general, and to try to make the fights more interesting, they would summon patches and then send patches home, because for most spears up against these 2, well, really for any spears we'll see up against these 2, that's a really tall order. So they're really giving the spear a huge buff by bringing patches in and then sending them home. I switched over to the spear because of the whips. I was worried about outranging those. And that player there is really lucky because I totally read the parry. I just screwed up the run BS. That'll become a factor later on, as we'll see. I read it again, or at least I'm worried about it again, but the pressure from the other player prevents me from going in for the backstab. And you can see here, I've just got so much poise. I'm so tanky at this point. And when a player is this tanky, in fact, I think 3v1 is really the threshold. If I'm one-on-one with any player in a 3v1 as a spear, there's virtually nothing that they can do. Like, I literally mean, like, they cannot stop me. I'm going to, especially with smaller weapons, there's nothing that they can do. They absolutely need the help of their teammates to come in to try to break my poise or to distract me. This player is powerless to keep me away from them, as you'll see here. I mean, watch this. I block and then swing into their R1. I mean, and I blocked with the hand axe. Like, there's just nothing you can do about that. So if you're ever in a fight like this and the spear beats you one-on-one, don't ever feel badly about it, because the spear just has so many advantages. Your advantage as the host team consists of numbers, and so you have to be all fighting kind of the spear at once. So now that I've got the poise of a 3v1 and it's just the host left at this point, the host is in a bad spot, but I'm also wary of the parry threat, and I also know that this player is an excellent spacer, and so I'm being much more cautious with the solo host in this situation than I ever normally would be. In fact, this is one of the few players I've fought before where I would actually think they could pull this out, and that's almost impossible. Actually, one of the really nice things about fighting these good players, there again, the swinging out of the Undead Hunter charm, which is really smart. These really good players, they usually have really good connections too, so those Estus punishes are almost guaranteed. GG. Okay, so this time the gloves are off. They did not bring patches into this fight, and it makes a world of difference. Plus, one of the players decides to bring a spear, which is hella annoying for me to deal with. I think, in fact, this player actually mentioned watching my video and learning this tip. And it's funny, when I give tips out about how to beat spears, I sometimes think, like, I hope this doesn't ever get used against me. But here's a clear-cut case where it absolutely did get used against me. And you see the other player there using quick step, and really they're being very smart, because if the spear has targeted you, it can be really difficult to get away. So don't try to attack, don't try to do anything. Essentially just wait for your friend to come in and support. And now I have a lot less poise, I have a lot less damage mitigation, and they are absolutely chewing me up with the crossbow as well. Both of these players are excellent crossbow players, and it shows, and they're really doing a lot of chip damage to me with the crossbow. I also switched over to the hand axe from before because I wanted the sweeping attack with two players, especially two really good players, or two players that could conceivably like roll into my spear to avoid it, where I would want that rather than the S-Dock to chase them down. But unfortunately, the hand axe, I get used to the reach of the S-Dock, and the hand axe just doesn't have anywhere near the reach, and I'm really not as used to playing with it. So right now I'm really just struggling to come up with any kind of a battle plan for dealing with these two players. And I really want to try to take one of them out while the Guardian's up, because I know if I don't, the chances of me pulling this victory out are about zilch. Nice rolling. And now my Guardian's dead, and now I realize like I am pretty well screwed. And because both these players are so good with the crossbow, they can kind of hang back and be a little bit more passive. And I mean, I could have like just tried to leverage my regen and been passive right back, but you know, that's not really very fun. And I know these players, and so yeah, I'd rather try to fight aggressively and maybe not have as good a chance at winning than to play like just a really lame passive game. So I went to the halberd momentarily because I thought maybe I could use the perseverance to try to manage the crossbows, but I quickly realized like that's probably not going to be a very practical strategy. And now they can feel their advantage, and they're both kind of pressing in on me, doing a lot of damage, roll catching me, and I can feel at this point like I am in some big trouble. So I kind of throw out like a panic great heal right here, and fortunately I didn't get backstabbed out of it, so I buy myself just a little bit extra time. But at this point the reality is kind of sunk in that I'm probably not going to win this fight. Nice spacing against the halberd there. That was really nice. I think I end up going back to the greatsword here, and unfortunately because I'm fumbling around in my inventory, oh no, that's right, I went to the curved sword. I went to the curved sword, and this is going to come up in another video. I'm unfortunately kind of predictable sometimes, and better players pick up on it, and the run-up parry is sometimes one of those that they get me with. In fact, G9 got me with it the other day, B-Dubs got me with it the other day, and so I'm going to be talking about that in a separate video, about fighting some of those better players. But anyway, something that I'm gonna have to work on and fix. So now I'm just kind of waiting for my spear fragment to regenerate so I can get in it and throw out a heal. And they tried to get me there with a cheeky javelin. No thank you. Unfortunately, it's probably too late at this point. Yep. GG, guys. Really well played. Okay, so this is the last clip, and this is the only clip where I'm not totally sure if I knew all the players that are involved here. And incidentally, if you do fight me as a spear, make sure you send me a message on Discord or something so that I know it's you, because sometimes I fight good players and I'm not sure if it's somebody I know or not, or somebody that watches the channel, and it'd be really nice to know, especially so I can record the fight and maybe consider it for inclusion in an upcoming series like this. So far, I'm really nervous about this fight. I've got lightning arrow in my face, which is really bad. I've got an aggressive white phantom who's reaction rolling every single one of my attacks, and he's got the Lothric Knight shield, which means he's absorbing or defending against so much of the damage that I'm doing anyway. So even if he doesn't roll by some miracle and he has a shield up, I'm not going to do any kind of damage. Smartly reaction rolls the second R1 after he blocks the first one, and I realized I literally did not hit a single player with my greatsword. So I switched to the straight sword, abuse my poise there for the run BS, and you obviously can see the Sun Bros over here throwing out healing miracles. Healing miracles on a team that's any good at all is almost a complete hard counter to the spear build. In fact, the fight before this one was another 3v1 where two of the players were throwing out Soothing Sunlight, Projected Heal, and they beat me. And there's almost nothing I can do to stop them, because the whole strategy of this build is get one player at somewhat low health and then chase them to the ends of the earth and put them away, but I can't do that. Fortunately, in this team, it's only this one player that's throwing out the healing miracles, so now I've targeted him for death. The problem is the rest of the team is giving me a really hard time because they know exactly what I'm trying to do, and they're trying to stop me as much as I'm trying to stop them. I get the great heal off. I was actually surprised that nobody actually contested that. Doing a much better job with the Ashen Estus, and you can see all the backstab pressure these guys are giving me. If I stop in place and swing my weapon more than once, I am at real risk of getting backstabbed, which makes life really difficult for me. And something interesting here happens. So I'm chasing this Sun Bro. He throws out, I think that's Lightning Storm. I tried to poise tank the Lightning Storm to finish him off with a backstab, but it ended up being a BS cancel. Fortunately, though, I think this player probably doesn't have much healing Estus. He's probably got it all locked up in Ashen Estus. I've talked about that before. So now that they can't heal one another with miracles, now I feel a lot better about my chances. But you can see when you've got 2 or 3 players that are getting in your face with a shield, it is really, really difficult to deal with, because as soon as you stop to swing at one of them, the other one is coming up on your flank. You also have the additional risk of the parry, but you can see here I'm unlocking. As I'm swinging at one player, I'm trying to look at the other one to make sure that I don't get backstabbed. Just tons and tons of pressure that these guys are bringing. It's really, really difficult for me to deal with. And there I wasn't quick enough. They finally got the backstab off, and here one of them R1s and the other one uses a charged R2, which can be literally impossible to escape completely. You're going to get hit by one. So I elect to roll the standard R1 and hope I get lucky on the R2. And there, for the first time, I threw out more than 2 or 3 R1s, and they assumed that I wouldn't. That worked out hugely to my advantage. Finally able to roll catch the other white phantom. GG. And now it's a pretty good bet that this other player's in some big trouble. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed the fights. If you'd like to come fight me, definitely come check me out. Soul level 90, look for my white sign, password Amish. I sometimes tweet about it as well. I'll have more information in the description below. Thanks for stopping by.